Welcome to this deep dive. We're tackling a really core challenge today, something banks, financial orgs, they all face it. How do you actually spark innovation in those digital product teams? Because you see the usual stuff, right? Team building, new frameworks, throwing more people or money at it.
Yeah, the standard playbook.
Exactly. But often that real spark, that innovation, it just doesn't quite happen.
It doesn't. And what we're digging into today, drawing on, UXDA's decade designing financial services, is the idea that the real block isn't usually resources. It's more often these toxic behaviors within the teams.
Toxic behaviors, okay.
Yeah, like trying to tune up an engine that's just clogged up. It won't work effectively.
That makes sense. And the scale of this,
Yeah.
it's huge, isn't it? I saw Gallup statistics.
Oh, yeah, the 77% disengagement one.
That's the one. 77% of employees worldwide feeling disengaged. That's...
Wow.
Wow. So much potential just sitting there.
Exactly. It really highlights these team dynamic issues.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. We're going to unpack, 10 key toxic behaviors, the ones that really kill innovation, especially in financial digital teams.
That's the plan. We'll look at what they are, why they're so damaging, and crucially, how you might start to spot them and deal with them.
Great. Where do we start? What's number one?
Let's start with a classic, the silo mentality.
Ah, yes. Walls between departments.
Precisely. Design's over here, developers are over there, marketing's in its own world, product management stuck in the middle, often fighting over budget or who has the power.
And you see the results, right? It feels like different companies built different parts of the same app sometimes. Why is that so bad for innovation?
Well, fundamentally, it shatters the user experience. It becomes disjointed.
Inconsistent.
Totally inconsistent. Navigation changes, the look feels different, the customer journey just breaks, and you miss massive opportunities for synergy for these different experts to actually build something better together.
Like the handover from seeing an ad to actually using the feature.
Perfect example. If that feels like two different worlds, you erode trust instantly. You create friction.
Okay, so silos are bad. How do you start breaking them down? It sounds hard.
It takes effort for sure, but things like regular, genuinely cross-functional meetings help. Not just status updates, but actual problem solving together.
Getting people in the same room, virtual or otherwise.
Yes, and even more powerful, shared KPIs, goals that everyone owns tied to the big company strategy and, importantly, user success.
Like satisfaction scores or conversion rates.
Exactly those. Things that make everyone pull in the same direction. Plus, fostering open communication using collaboration tools effectively so information flows freely. Transparency.
Right. Breaking down those walls requires deliberate effort. Okay, what's next on the list?
Number 2, ego-driven decision-making.
Oof. We've all seen this one, I think. Decisions based on who's highest paid or loudest in the room.
Unfortunately, yes. Or just personal preference. I like blue,
Yeah, but
instead of basing decisions on actual user needs or data.
And the impact of that, where does the product end up?
It drifts. It drifts away from the user. You end up building something that doesn't solve their real problems, maybe even creates new ones, and that kills loyalty. It kills trust. Why stick with a bank whose app clearly wasn't built for you?
Good point. So how do you fight the ego? How do you get user needs back in the driving seat?
The absolute bedrock is user research. Make it the main guide.
So talking to users, watching them use the product, surveys.
All of it. Interviews, usability tests, surveys, gather that objective evidence. It's much harder to argue with data than with opinion. That use things like user personas and journey maps.
To build empathy, right?
Exactly, to make the user real for the team. And culturally, you need to actively build an ego-free zone. Encourage feedback, value different views, make discussions about the user, not about who's right.
Easier said than done sometimes, but crucial. Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is fear of failure.
The don't rock the boat culture.
Yeah, often driven by managers who punish mistakes rather than learn from them. So teams just stop trying new things. They won't suggest a bold idea.
Because it feels too risky, per se.
Completely. And you can see immediately how that just suffocates innovation. If you're scared to fail, you'll only ever do the safe, predictable thing.
Which leads to?
Stagnation. Products get outdated. You miss huge opportunities because you were too afraid to even experiment.
So how do you flip that? How do you make it okay to try things that might not work out?
You have to cultivate psychological safety. That's key.
Meaning people feel safe to speak up, take risks.
Exactly. Safe to take interpersonal risks without fear of being shut down or punished. Leaders play a huge role here. Normalize small, controlled sandbox experiments, low-stakes testing,
Okay.
and critically, frame every outcome as learning. Success or failure, what did we learn? Celebrate the learning, not just the win. That reinforces a growth mindset. Explicitly say mistakes are learning opportunities.
That shift from blame to learning sounds vital. Okay, number 4.
Number 4, micromanagement.
Oh, I think a lot of listeners will recognize this one. The manager who's constantly looking over your shoulder.
It's incredibly common and so demotivating. It's that excessive monitoring, questioning every little detail. It just kills autonomy.
Right. Takes away any sense of ownership.
Completely. And the consequences, creativity plummets, morale tanks. Progress actually slows down because everything needs approval. People just disengage.
Why bother giving your best if someone's just going to redo it or pick it apart anyway?
Exactly that feeling. So the antidote, it starts with trust and delegation.
So managers need to let go a bit.
They do. Assign clear goals, define what success looks like, the success metrics, but then let people figure out how to get there. Empower them.
Trust their expertise.
Trust their expertise and shift your own role from controlling to coaching and mentoring. Offer support, remove roadblocks, but step back.
Guide, don't dictate. Got it. What's number 5?
Number 5 is a big one, especially in finance. Lack of empathy.
Lack of empathy for the user.
For the user, yes. When the team designers, devs, product managers make decisions without really understanding the user's world, their day-to-day realities, their feelings, their accessibility needs.
So designing in a vacuum almost.
Kinda, yeah. Without truly connecting with the people they're designing for.
And the result is, what, a product that just doesn't land?
Often, yes. It feels tone-deaf. Maybe it's too complex for someone not tech-savvy. Maybe it completely ignores users with certain disabilities. It fails to meet expectations, causes frustration, and pushes users away.
So building empathy. How do teams do that practically?
Direct user contact is irreplaceable. Usability testing, watching real people use the product. User interviews, digging into their context and challenges.
Hearing it straight from them.
Absolutely. Tools like empathy mapping can also really help visualize the user's experience, what they're thinking, feeling, seeing, doing, and building in frequent feedback loops throughout the process keeps you connected to their reality.
Constantly checking back in. Okay, number 6.
Resistance to change.
Sticking to the old ways because, well, that's how we've always done it.
You nailed it. Clinging to familiar processes, old tools, even when they're clearly inefficient or outdated.
And in fintech, that sounds dangerous. Things move so fast.
Extremely dangerous. The digital financial world is evolving constantly. If you refuse to adapt, to adopt new best practices or technologies, you will fall behind competitors. You risk becoming irrelevant.
So how do you encourage adaptability? How do you make change less scary?
Fostering a culture of continuous learning is fundamental. Regular training, workshops, sharing knowledge internally.
Making learning the norm.
Exactly. When introducing something new like a tool, maybe start with a pilot program. Test it with a smaller group first, work out the kinks. And constant benchmarking. Keep an eye on the industry, on competitors. What are they doing? What can we learn? Be ready to pivot.
Stay curious, stay flexible. Makes sense. What's number 7?
Ineffective communication.
Ah, the classic communication breakdown. Seems basic, but happens all the time.
It cripples teams. Information gets lost in tangled email chains, messy chat threads, documents nobody updates.
People working on old information or just completely missing key decisions.
Right. They find out about things too late, or decisions get made without the right input because the communication just wasn't there.
And the fallout from that, what does it cause?
Errors, definitely. Duplicated work, 2 people doing the same thing because they didn't know, stalled projects, and just massive frustration and low morale. Feeling out of the loop is demoralizing.
So better communication hygiene, essentially. What helps?
Structure helps. Things like structured updates daily or weekly stand-ups with clear agendas can make a huge difference.
Wix sync-ups.
Yeah. Using centralized documentation and project tools, somewhere everyone knows to look for the latest info. And sometimes actual communication training can be beneficial, especially for diverse or remote teams, to ensure clarity.
Getting everyone on the same page, literally. Okay, number 8.
Number 8. Lack of brand alignment.
This feels particularly key for banks and financial institutions. Trust is everything.
It really is. This happens when the digital product team kind of operates separately from the main brand strategy. They might see brand guidelines as, just colors and logos and afterthought.
Rather than the core promise and values.
Exactly. So the product experience, the design, the language, the feel doesn't actually match up with what the brand says it is.
And why is that disconnect so harmful?
It confuses users, first off. It dilutes the brand's identity, makes it feel less authentic. If the app experience feels completely different from the marketing promise or the branch experience, it erodes that hard-won trust and loyalty.
You start wondering if it's even the same company.
Right. So how do you fix it? Ensure those brand guidelines are crystal clear, accessible, and understood by everyone involved in the product. Values, positioning, visuals, tone of voice, everything.
Get it ingrained.
Yes. And involve the brand and marketing folks right from the start of any project. Don't bring them in at the end just to check colors. Build that alignment in from day one. Plus, do periodic brand audits of the product, check it against the strategy, against user feedback, keep it aligned.
Makes sense. Integrate, don't isolate. 2 left. Number 9.
Number 9, short-term focus.
The tyranny of the quarterly target.
Pretty much. When teams are so focused on hitting immediate deadlines and the next quarter's numbers that they lose sight of the long-term vision.
Constantly firefighting, maybe, fixing immediate bugs, but not thinking strategically.
That's a big part of it. It leads to a really fragmented product strategy. You're just adding little fixes, bolting on features reactively, rather than building a cohesive, future-proof experience.
So you end up with a product that's kind of a jumble, lacking clear direction.
Exactly. It lacks that sustainable path forward. The way to counter this is to create balanced roadmaps.
Balanced how?
Ones that mix short-term deliverables, the necessary fixes and features, with clear strategic milestones looking 6, 12, 18 months out. You also need a compelling product vision, a North Star that guides decisions beyond the immediate quarter. And things like scenario planning help too, thinking about future market shifts, preparing proactively.
Balancing the now with the next. Okay, last one, number 10.
And number 10, which seems obvious but isn't always practiced, ignoring user feedback.
Wait, teams actually ignore feedback? Or just don't collect it?
Both happen. Sometimes it's collected sporadically, filed away somewhere. Or worse, they gather lots of data reviews, survey results, but then just don't act on it. It doesn't influence decisions.
That seems self-destructive. Why is listening to users so vital?
Because users change. Their needs evolve, their expectations shift, the market changes. If you dismiss their feedback, you risk building stuff nobody wants, solving yesterday's problems, or just completely misreading your audience. You're flying blind.
So how do you make feedback count? How do you weave it in properly?
You need continuous feedback loops, all through the life cycle.
Like what specifically?
Actively monitor App Store reviews, use in-app ratings or quick surveys, run regular usability tests, send out user surveys, watch social media, maybe run focus groups, gather it from everywhere.
Yeah.
Then track user-centric KPIs like Net Promoter Score,
Okay.
customer satisfaction.
PS and CSAD.
Right, and investigate dips. Don't just track them. But the absolute key is then translating that feedback into actionable tasks on the product roadmap. Feedback needs to drive change.
Close the loop. Got it. Wow, that's quite a list of potential pitfalls. 10 major roadblocks.
It really highlights that innovation isn't just about having smart people or the latest tech, doesn't it? It's so much about the human dynamics.
Absolutely. And there's data backing this up, right? The impact of getting this right.
Oh, definitely. McKinsey found that companies really strong on customer centricity, which these toxic behaviors directly undermine, see big results, like 15–20% higher sales conversion. Yeah, and 20–50% lower service costs, plus 10–20% higher customer satisfaction. That's a massive business case for fixing these internal team issues to improve the external experience.
And wasn't there something from Gartner, too? About how treating employees impacts performance?
Yes. Gartner found employees who feel seen as people, not just cogs in a machine, are almost 4 times more likely to be high performers. It links directly back to creating that healthier, human-centered team culture. It boosts motivation, productivity, everything.
So tackling these behaviors isn't just nice to have, it's fundamental to performance and customer results.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a big undertaking. Where does a company even start? It's not an overnight fix.
No, it's definitely a journey. The first step, often the hardest, is an honest assessment.
Looking in the mirror.
Exactly. Really evaluate the current culture, the processes. Using anonymous feedback tools can be really helpful here to get the unvarnished truth about how these behaviors are playing out.
Get genuine feedback.
And from there, it's about systematically working on those areas we discussed, dismantling the silos, actively building empathy, creating that psychological safety for risk-taking, truly championing user feedback. It's ongoing work.
So the big takeaway here seems to be, if you're in finance, or really any field needing digital innovation and customer trust, success isn't just about the tech. It's fundamentally about building a healthy, cohesive team focused on the user.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Hmm.
By identifying and really working to root out these 10 toxic behaviors, organizations can unlock so much potential in their teams. They can actually turn those innovative visions into products that people love and trust. It's about investing in the culture, not just the code.
That commitment to culture driving growth, satisfaction, and ultimately leadership in the digital space. Okay, so a final thought for you listening. As you go about your day, maybe reflect on these 10 behaviors. Do any of them sound familiar in your own workplace or maybe in companies you deal with? And just consider what hidden potential could be unlocked, what better outcomes could be achieved if there was a real focus on nurturing that team culture. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.